Hey guys, just wanted to get this message out. It's the story of my family in 2019 and one that's continuing today. And I think the most important thing is it's a message of hope and it's a message that will show you there's proof of God. So I'm gonna kind of present my evidence to you, and it's like everybody says today, change my mind. April 28th, 2019, one of the hardest days that I've ever had. I got a phone call that day. My 13-year-old nephew, Davis Floor, passed away. He was out on the lake with our family and his best friends, and I don't know, what else is there to say about that? He was really the greatest kid, and I think about it every day. Just to pray for my sister and Gary and Christian and Sarah and Rob and Megan and Harper and their kids, to just have peace and to be able to move past his loss in that day. And like I said, I have no words for it, but he was the best of any of us. For those who don't know his story, the second that he was born, his life was on the line. He had to have innumerable surgeries just to survive his very birth. And once we got through the early years of that, and he started to grow and thrive, we kind of all forgot that he was going to have challenges. And you would never know that from talking to him, because he was the most positive, uplifting, and fun guy that you've ever been around. And I never heard him complain once about surgeries or the scars on his bodies or the things that he had to go through, and some of the facial issues that he dealt with. The kids made fun of him. He really took it all in stride and was the best of any of us. And if some of you seen on Facebook recently, the city of Charlotte dedicated a park to him. I mean, how many 13-year-olds does that happen for? Zero. So the proof and the evidence and the things that started happening for us happened about this time. My wife and I got to North Carolina on Wednesday, which was May the 1st, and my sister was gone. She was dealing with the funeral arrangements, which, I wish we could have been there for her. But we got there. My mom was with my uncle and my aunt, and I guess it was a great opportunity because we were alone for my mom to share some news with us. In her very understated way, as she always was, she casually mentioned that she had some health issues going on. She had some spots, and you always had to poke and prod my mom for what she was really trying to say. And after 15 minutes, basically, she admitted she had liver cancer. I knew nothing about GI cancers at the time. We have a fighter spirit in our family, so the first thought is, well, I don't care what this is, we're going to beat it. But I remember that night I stayed up with my phone just Googling it. And there's terrible information about anything online these days, but liver cancers don't have a very high survival rate, and I knew that. And so we did the best we could, but it's like the minute my mom told me, you could see it. She was weak, she was tired, and I knew something was terribly wrong. So anyways, we didn't tell my sister. We really obviously had other things to focus on at the time, and so we kept it pretty quiet. Davis's funeral was on Saturday, May the 4th, and my sister and her husband, and she went to college there. She's been in Charlotte all her life, so she's this tremendous outpouring of friends. Obviously, our family and Gary's family. So we had a house full of people back at the house afterwards, and really thankful that she had that level of support, because she needed it. And so we were, everybody was hanging out. We're telling stories, and one of the things that came up was Megan's son, Kieran, his best friend, had been seeing 32 over and over and over, seeing it on the clock. like he would pay for something and get change when they actually still had change. And he was getting 32 over and over and over and over. Well, my sister, a few days after Davis passed, found a poem that he had written. He had taken a poetry class in school, and I guess she had seen some of it, but she hadn't seen everything that he'd written. And anyways, I'm going to put this up now. For the sake of our short attention spans, I don't want to give you guys a 30-minute video to watch. So if you want to read this poem, I strongly suggest you do, and all the pictures I'm going to show you, just pause the video and then you can come back to my rambling. The title of the poem is I Am 32. In Davis's mind, we don't actually know if this is right or not. He said that he had had 32 surgeries in his life, and that I think what I really got from it was he wasn't scared, and it didn't hurt him, and like he was stronger because of it. I mean, it was really a pretty amazing thing for a 13-year-old kid to write. But obviously, how do you explain the fact that his best friend saw 32 and that he wrote this poem and that those dots connected after he passed? I don't even know how you can. But if you think that's interesting, just hang on. So I basically came back to Indiana. My mom had a oncology appointment, been postponed. Don't even get me started with the medical system. Healthcare, I call it sick care now because it was just not a good experience. But we waited. I came back, and the oncology appointment did not go well. It was just more the doctor and how he treated her. And we made the decision to get my mom to Charlotte, and we were going to move her to our hospital there. And at this time, we were like gung-ho. I had every book on natural remedies in the world. We were putting my mom on a vegan diet. We were all going to go on it, as a matter of fact, and we were going to beat this thing. And so came back to Indiana, packed a few things, a carload of things, because I basically moved there for the future. And I came back, and the minute I got to my mom's house, it's like really clear that she had, even in the 3 days, I guess, that I was gone, she had degraded substantially. So we decided to move her to my sister's house, basically permanently. And so while we were there, I'm working, everybody's there. We had family still coming in, people bringing in meals. There was a rock out in the lake near where Davis passed, and it had been painted years ago. We decided we were going to go paint it, in memory of him. And so, against my better judgment, I actually painted with Carolina blue and Tennessee orange, and survived to talk about it. But anyways, I was very thankful we got a chance to do it. We used the neighbor's jet skis, so Gary and I kind of like rode out there, and we kind of hung out. We did our thing. When we finished, I put all my stuff and my phone in the compartment, and as I turn the jet ski around, I look up and I'm just like in awe of what I'm seeing. I don't even know what I'm seeing. It's just like curtains of light, and really for a few seconds I felt like I wasn't even on Earth anymore. It's just really hard to explain how I felt. But I'm like, Gary, did you get a picture of that? And he's like, get a picture of what? He's still facing the other direction. And I just said, of that, So he takes a picture, and, we get back to the house, and, we're just showing people pictures of the rock. We kind of forgotten about my little supernatural moment. And somebody looks at the picture and like, what is that in the upper left? And I'm like, I don't know. What is it? Well, this is the time when you can pause me again. I'm going to show you a couple pictures because we actually changed the coloring on it. It makes it a little easier to see. It's pretty much in the left corner of the picture. It's a cross. It looks just like a cross Jesus was hanging on. And we had the whole neighborhood over there, and they were like, we're all just on the floor. We can't believe what we've seen. And we've showed it to some people, like, I don't know if I see it. And I'm like, well, okay, great. But you weren't there. And I know what I felt when I looked up. I had no explanation for what I was looking at or what I was seeing. And obviously in the circumstances, you know, there was a certainly a lot to be said for what was going on in our world. So anyways, we kind of moved past that. Things are moving really fast in our lives because we're dealing with my mom. Her condition was going downhill. Like it was so fast, like every day, even sometimes a few hours, it got worse. And we were really getting to the position where we weren't sure if we could even provide her care, even though we were right there. Like it was that serious, and we were worried about, you know, perhaps pain management, everything else, because there was never a chance for chemo. We were way too late for that. There was no surgery. There was just, you know, it is what it is. So we started discussing hospice, and you know, I know a lot of people have negative connotations with hospice, but I'll tell you, from our perspective, it was the biggest blessing that I've ever experienced. Not only were the people wonderful, but the services they provided, it was free. They had a chaplain that came in and prayed with us, my mom. I mean, the whole thing was just, it was so great. And if you ever, anybody listening to this, if you ever get in this situation, I encourage you, don't believe what you've heard or what you think you know about hospice. It's really worth looking into, and like I said, it was great for us. But, you know, as this was going on, we had some decisions to make, and my sister and I were not even close to arguing about any of this, but it seems like a big decision when you do that, because perhaps it makes you feel like you're giving up. And that's where another little coincidence goes. This book right here, it's called An Army in Heaven. I'll do that one more time in case my video skillsmanship is poor. I heard the author of this book on a radio program, I think in April. I don't know exactly when it was. I think it was on the Caravan to Midnight program, but I'm not 100% sure. But I bought this book on May the 7th. I went back and looked on Amazon, which keeps track of everything. And I bought it on May the 7th of 2019. And I think my intent was, it was to, you know, be something uplifting regarding my nephew's passing. I had no idea that it would actually help me in making a decision for my mom in just a few weeks. But this book is written by a nurse that was a hospice nurse. And, you know, she starts off by saying how depressing most people think going from a regular nurse to a hospice facility was. And she said it was the best experience of her life. And the reason why is that she witnessed people ascending, and in a few cases descending, which none of us want to have to do. But it's extremely uplifting. If you get a chance to buy it and read it, I encourage you to do it. I think I read it in about a day. Kelly Jankowski is the name of the author, and pretty amazing. So like I said, I get this book, I devour it in a day, and like 2.5 weeks later, I'm making a decision to put my mom in hospice. And we were the at-home hospice service because we really didn't want to move her at this point. But I guess my point is, I mean, how does that happen? I don't even understand, you know, but I'll keep going. So we, you know, as I said, my mom's condition's going downhill every day. And in the last couple of weeks or so, she started talking to people, especially looking up. One day she was laughing, and I'm telling you, like, this laugh was like, if you imagine when you were a child and you got that one gift that you always wanted, it was like that level of joy we saw in her face, like over and over and over. Here she is dying, like, what is going on? And she's smiling, giggling. We're like, man, I mean, we were dying to know, you know, who she was talking to and who she was with. And we assume it was everyone important in her life. We don't really know. A couple of times she said, and I remember one day in particular, she said, he's touching my leg right now. And we're like, my sister was like, who? And she's like, Davis. And she said his touch, it's so special, it's more special than anyone else's. And we're just like, I mean, we're floored. But I guess, the one thing that's important to that and why I'm conveying it is, I mean, she was looking up the whole time. It wasn't to the side, it wasn't straight down, it was straight up. And the hospice nurses plus the book I read had kind of explained what I would see at the very end. It would be like this body that was there, but there was nothing in it, and that body just died. And the night she passed away, which was June the 5th, around 10 p.m. or so, my aunt had called us in there because she kind of knew it was, we were all on watch. We all knew it was imminent. And I mean, that's exactly what it was. There was nothing in there. There was a body, and it looked like my mom, but she wasn't in there. She was already gone, and it was just the body actually letting go. And I don't know. It's pretty amazing. And I guess all of this stuff is not to say that death's okay, but I mean, at this point, I'm starting to feel like, wow, there's something a lot bigger out there, and maybe it's not something to be fearful of. So, I packed my stuff back up, go back home. I think I was in North Carolina for like 5 weeks. I mean, we had estate stuff to deal with. I was really thankful for the guys in Dallas that I worked for because they were very flexible with my career. I was thankful for my wife, my kids, my ex-wife, everybody that kind of allowed me to, just disappear for 5 weeks. And it was just great to be back home and see friends and be with my family, which is hard for me to do when I'm 8.5 hours away. But I go home. We decided that we would, my mom did not want a funeral. She wanted to be cremated. She didn't want anybody to make a big fuss about her, which is the same thing I want, by the way. So we decided we'd have a celebration of life for her, and we decided to make a vacation of it. So we brought the kids with us. We came back for a week. We had my in-laws in, my sister-in-law, brother-in-law. I mean, everybody came in for this, and it was just a big party. It was a fun day. Some of my best friends came, and we really just had a great time with food, drink, lake, all the stuff, because she didn't want anybody sitting around crying for her. She had a great life too, so there was a lot to celebrate. And my sister bought the type of lanterns that are powered by a candle that you let go. And so the plan was to let those off as soon as it gets dark. And, well, I'm just going to put this picture up. If you think I photoshopped it or you think you just have some instant explanation for this one, have at it. But here you go. I guess I don't even know where to start with this one. You might notice a huge swoosh on the left-hand side and then a white streak in the top right corner. Have no idea what those are. If you look at the red lantern that my brother-in-law Gary is holding up, there is a cross in there. There is no physical structure inside of that would do that. Also, if you look at the top right in the window, we're pretty sure there's somebody or something standing there. Well, just so you know, Gary's about 6'1", and if he stood up and put his hand up all the way like this, you could see the top of his hand through that window. It's really high up. So, we zoomed in and zoomed out. You can see part of the ceiling fan there, but there's something more than the ceiling fan there. And, for any of this stuff that I'm putting out here, we have a lot of witnesses that saw this stuff. So that night, we're looking at pictures, and, we're running back and forth between the kitchen and Gary's office because we're printing these things off and, blowing off parts. Because we had all the neighbors and all these friends over, and everybody's like, what in the world is this? And, I mean, we have no explanation. I mean, we have an idea, right? Is that that God's real and that heaven's real and that people don't die. they go where they're supposed to go. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. So we kind of my last set of pictures, maybe a month or so after this. I don't know the exact date. My sister's calls and says, "Hey, I got some more kind of crazy stuff that goes on." I'm like, at this point, I'm like, nothing would surprise me. And so these last two pictures I'll show you. One, you'll see my brother-in-law Gary standing in his backyard, and looks like some blue butterflies flying there, but there aren't any butterflies that look like that in that part of North Carolina. Also, there's a second picture with some blue orbs that you can see over top of their string of lights. And again, none of this stuff's Photoshop. I wouldn't even know how to do it if I could. But I think as I present all these things to you as evidence, it's pretty powerful. And if you ask anybody in my family and they see this, it's really clear what we believe. And we believe that God is real. We believe that heaven's real. And, maybe even to define it even more closely, I would say that I think now about our purpose in life being really simple. And that book helped me a lot too in this, is that, God puts us here to figure out where he's going to put us forever. Because life's eternal either way. It says it in the Bible. You're either going to go to heaven, you're going to go to hell forever. And this is our training and proving ground. We get however much time we get here for God to sort us out. And I believe that's exactly what we saw proof of. And in a way, it was to help us understand that and gain comfort with our loss, but also to gain peace. I have to tell you, I don't think about life near like I did before. I've had a great life, self-indulgent, sinful, whatever you want to call it. I've lived. I've done everything I could ever want to do and more. And it's not really been until the last 10 years or so that I've started to get things about that right and think about things other than what I need or want. And I think this is validation of that, because my nephew and my mom were the two best people that I've ever known. And if you think about that and where they ended up, that makes me happy. It doesn't make me sad. It makes me think I got a lot more work to do, but I don't need to be sad for their loss, because they're in heaven right now. They're not suffering. Heaven's a place of light, love, and laughter, and there's no pain. There's no loss there. So I really encourage you guys to think about this. If you think I'm crazy, it's cool. I've been called that many, many times, especially by people who knew me when I was younger. But if you don't think I'm crazy, if you think there's something to this, I encourage you to get right with God. That's really what this is all about. And don't wait, because as most of you know now in 2020, if you ever had any thoughts about your mortality, they've probably changed quite a bit. So if you thought you had all your life to get things right, maybe you don't. And maybe you do. I don't know. But why wait? Salvation's here. It's available for you right now. You don't have to wait one more minute. I think that Jesus really said it best when his disciples asked him what they needed to do, and he said, "Love God, love thy neighbor." And I think there's not a lot of either of that going on in this country and in the world, but especially here. I've read the Bible a lot in the last few years, and most of the Old Testament to me is a story about Israel having all this supernatural proof that God's real. And he's literally right there in a cloud of fire rolling around with them in the desert, and they still can't get it right. And he punishes them, and it gets worse and worse and worse until he eventually says, "You know what? I'm going to destroy everything you've built and kick you out of your land." Kind of sounds like where we're at right now. And on the love thy neighbor part, go to Facebook for 20 minutes. You see where we're at with that. But I've thought about this in the simplest terms possible. A few thousand years ago, God got so angry at the corruption and the deceitfulness of this earth that he destroyed every living being except for one man and his family and a bunch of animals so we could start over. And if you believe that's true, then we're all related. So racism, all the negative stuff that we're doing, I mean, it's not real. You're just angry at your brother, your sister, your father, your mother. So just let it go. We can't fix what happened 10 years ago or 100 years ago, but we can fix today forward. And if you reach out to your neighbor, and I bet a lot of your neighbors need stuff right now. There's a lot of people suffering. And there's going to be even more, unfortunately, because of what's going on in our world and businesses shutting down, people losing their jobs. It's bad. So people need your help. Reach out and do that. Let's stop screaming about what corrupt person can run our country or our city or our state. Let's work together as a community. And it's said that the kingdom of God is within all of us. And I believe that. And I believe we have that kind of power. And why is it that no one in the news or in politics or world health or world finance would tell you that? Why do they always keep us like this? I mean, you really ought to think about that, because it's not what we were designed to do. It's not the way this world was supposed to work. And we can change it. We just have to change it. We have to move forward from today. That's it. So, if you really think I've lost my gourd, great. There's plenty of days I wonder about it too. But I'm going to leave you with one last thing. Again, this thing's 27 minutes long. I never intended it to be this long. But we've had a lot more stuff that has happened that I just simply can't explain. And been having a lot of things happen at my house that my animals are sensitive to. And I've had a greater sense something more was going on. And I'm going to end with this video. We have a Ring camera set up in my backyard because I just had the sense that I needed to catch something. And this is what it caught at 4:54 in the morning last night, which was November the 10th. Make up your own mind. Can't make it for you, but if I can help you, please don't hesitate to reach out. Love you guys. Blessings to all. Take care.